Hi guys, Mr. Fit Geek here. Thanks for tuning into this video. Today I want to look at the iPad Pro 9.7 inch. So recently I purchased the Apple Pencil to go with the iPad Pro here, and I did a review of that and I did a first impressions video of that, and I really like the Apple Pencil, but I haven't actually done anything on the iPad Pro itself. So here is my impressions and my kind of 6 weeks on review of the iPad Pro. Now the iPad Pro is obviously the smaller brother of the ginormous iPad Pro, the 12.9 inch version, and when I went to look at those at the Apple Store, man, those things are big. You have to be seriously committed to using one of those if you get one of those. I use an Apple MacBook, and the MacBook is the 13-inch version. So basically the iPad Pro is the same size, albeit a lot thinner than a MacBook, but you have to be pretty committed. And at the moment, do I think the iPad can replace a Mac? No. I think you still need a file system, you still need the power behind a proper laptop to do lots of stuff that quite yet the iPad can't replace. So it was going to be too big. But in terms of the iPad from the normal size here, the 9.7 inch, and obviously not the mini one, I think this is always the perfect balance of power, of function, and everything that you need in an iPad. So I've come off the base of an iPad Air. I didn't upgrade to the iPad Air 2, as apart from it being a little bit faster and obviously the Touch ID, I don't see that much difference. But from an Air to the 9.7 Pro, yes, there are big differences. I mean, in terms of hardware differences here, there is the screen itself. So the screen, in terms of the actual pixel density, hasn't really changed. It's actually the new True Tone feature that's in the screen itself. You probably won't really get to see it here, but basically on the screen you then have this True Tone which has these sensors in the screen here, so, and it's ambient light sensors, so depending on your environment the tone of the screen will change. So instead of, and if you go to your settings here, instead of it being a blue grey kind of brightness that we're so used to having with these here, instead you have this more of an orangey kind of tone to it here. Let me see if I can change it. You're able to then toggle your True Tone on and off. So I've just turned it off, and it's probably not made that much difference actually, because we've got the sunlight and the natural daylight coming in here. But when you're in like a darker environment or a very bright environment, if you have True Tone turned off, then it will dynamically adjust the screen here. And I found it's just a little bit softer on the eyes, it's a little bit more forgiving than that greyish bluish tone that we were so used to before. It doesn't impact the brightness, it's still a really bright and a really clear screen, and it's just a little bit softer, so that's something I really like. Then of course the other factor of the hardware is you have your 3 little dimples here on the side. Now they are basically to attach a smart keyboard. I have as yet to get to the smart keyboard. I probably won't get the smart keyboard for this. I'm perfectly fine with the on-screen keyboard when I need to do any kind of typing at all on this here. And then of course the other big factor for the, well, two actually for the hardware. Now one of the other ones is the camera. So they've now put on here the same camera that is on the 6S. So you have your flash, and then you can see there is the slight dimple then that now comes out from the back there. So it doesn't really make any difference when this is on a desk. I don't find that it tends to wobble too much or anything. But yeah, the camera has been improved. However, I don't use this as a camera. If you need to use this, or if you need to use this to shoot any kind of video, then yeah, it's now on a par with the 6S, and it's, as we know, on the 6S is great quality. But yes, the other big difference here is of course the speakers. So where on the iPad before you had the one speaker at the bottom, we now have speakers at the 4 corners of the iPad, and what this now gives is a real boost in the audio. So if you're watching films, listening to music, television programs, playing games, you now have the audio literally coming out from the 4 corners of the iPad, and this I think has an impact in one of 2 ways. The sound is richer. It gives a much better soundscape than previously on an iPad, because obviously it was only coming out on one side before. I mean, Apple could have just put a speaker here and a speaker here and been done with it, but I think by putting 4 they did a very genius thing, which is no matter the orientation, so if you change your iPad round, what it will always do, the bottom 2 speakers will always be your low frequency, and then your top 2 speakers will always be your higher frequency. So even if you put it into landscape mode, these will be your low frequency, these will still be your high frequency as you switch it around. And it's great because it really then gives that proper balance of sound. It's not bassy, so you don't think you're going to be able to, use it as a party and crack it open like a boombox. That ain't going to happen. It just means that if you have this, and I personally find it great if I'm doing work and have it on a desk and I can tune into a radio or put some music on it, and the sound is really, really, really great, and it makes a real big difference. So they are really the biggest hardware changes I find. And in terms of actually using this, to be honest, in particular, since I've got the Apple Pencil, for me it's the combination of the iPad itself and then the new accessories, in particular the pencil, for me that makes this the iPad Pro. If you just had this on its own and let's call it the iPad Pro, and you had no pencil and no smart keyboard, I'd really struggle to see the big difference, what makes this a big difference compared to the previous iPads. There's nothing too particular in the iOS on this that gives it, for me, a Pro status. The minute you introduce the keyboard, albeit I don't use it, but I can see the benefit of it, but the pencil, because I now use this as my main, this is my main notepad now. Everything, all my notes for my work, for all my meetings that I go into, I now use this. I use it to draw, I use it to scribble, absolutely everything. This is my notepad now, and the pencil just works so well. I think that has made it the Pro. And that's where it really sort of sits for me. Would I advise you getting one of these if you don't have an iPad? Absolutely. I would say if you're getting into iPads, this would be the one to go for. Again, the 9.7 is the best size. It's not too big, it's not too small. This thing is so light. It weighs nothing. You can carry this around with you all day, and it's just like incredible. It's a beautiful piece, obviously, a beautiful piece of technology. How they seem to have sort of shrunk it down ever so slightly from even the iPad Air. I mean, this is thinner than an iPhone 6S. It's crazy how thin this is. If you've got an iPad Air 2, I'd really question. I'd say if you're in the use of the pencil on the smart keyboard, then yeah. But actually, from a speed point of view, from an overall operational point of view, it doesn't do that much different. The iPad Air 2, for example, where on this we can have the split screen. So you can have a web browser open. Let's have a look. Here's me on T Nation, and then you can obviously zoom across, and then you can open all your other apps here, and then you can bring it right across, so you have your split screen in play. This is brilliant. I absolutely love split screen, but that's on the iPad Air 2, so not on the iPad Air. So the actual iOS itself is not that different. But basically, would I get one? Absolutely. Would I use it to replace a laptop? No, not at all. And would I buy the Apple Pencil? Most definitely. That's why you're going to get one of these. So yeah, anyway, this is my ramblings and my review about my 6-week period using the iPad Pro. Any comments at all? Pop them in the box below. Drop it a like if you found this video useful. And obviously if you want to see more stuff like this, then subscribe to my channel. So thanks very much for watching, and see you soon. Cheers.